Welcome back to my channel. The handsome bachelor and the hot producer. This is Taekook fanfiction love story. Boy X boy love. If you are homophobic, please click off this video. For Taekook lovers, let's start. The Kim estate was the kind of place that newspapers whispered about and magazines begged to feature. Marble floors stretched endlessly, crystal chandeliers glistened above polished dining tables, and the air always carried the faint fragrance of expensive lilies. Arranged fresh every morning by hired florists. Kim Taehyung had grown up in this house, the sprawling gardens, the art gallery curated by his mother, the wine cellar his father boasted about during parties. It was all a reminder of their family's empire. The Kims weren't just wealthy, they were the Kims, a name that stood tall in both business and social circles. At breakfast, the family gathered as always around the long oak table. His father, Chairman Kim, read the financial section of the newspaper while sipping his dark coffee. His mother, elegant as ever in a silk robe, adjusted her pearl earrings absent-mindedly as she scrolled through her phone. Across the table sat his older brother, Kim Seokjin, the golden child, handsome, composed, already a CEO of one of the family's companies. Next to him was his partner, Namjoon, who had become part of the family so seamlessly it was as if he had always been there. Seokjin and Namjoon had a quiet way of glancing at each other, exchanging little smiles that spoke of love, comfort, and stability. And then there was Jimin, the youngest, cheerful and mischievous. He was still finishing his university degree, but already his heart had been claimed. His lover was none other than Professor Min Yoongi, a man Taehyung once thought too grumpy and reserved for Jimin's sunshine. Yet, when Yoongi appeared at family dinners, his eyes softened only for Jimin. They balanced each other perfectly. It was this very balance, the kind everyone else seemed to have, that weighed on Taehyung. He was the middle son, the successful one in business, intelligent, charismatic, and the face of the Kim family's international brand. Magazines loved him. Investors trusted him and employees respected him. But when the dinners ended, when the polished lights dimmed, and when he lay in his king-sized bed in his penthouse suite, there was silence. No partner. No warmth. Only him, the sheets, and the hollow sound of success without love. "Hyung, you look like you're about to write poetry about loneliness again," Jimin teased, breaking into Taehyung's thoughts as he poured himself orange juice. Taehyung arched a brow. "And you look like you're about to annoy me before I even finish my breakfast." Their mother laughed softly. "Don't fight at the table." Seokjin looked up from his perfectly buttered croissant. "Taehyung, Jimin is right though. You've been sighing a lot lately. What's going on? Trouble at work?" "Work is fine," Taehyung replied, stabbing his omelet with unnecessary force. "It's my life outside of it that's lacking." Namjoon chuckled knowingly. Ah, the infamous Taehyung dilemma. The man who can conquer markets but not his own heart. "Very funny," Taehyung muttered, though his lips curved just slightly. Jimin leaned forward, eyes glinting with mischief. "That's because you're picky, Hyung. You want someone who's beautiful, intelligent, kind, but also exciting. You don't give anyone a real chance. Or maybe," Seokjin added smoothly, "you're scared. You hide behind your career because you don't want to admit you're lonely." Taehyung froze for a moment, fork midair. His older brother's words struck closer than he wanted to admit. But instead of answering, he set down his fork and leaned back. "I'm not scared. I just haven't found the right one." Jimin smirked like he had been waiting for this. "Perfect. Then it's time for you to find them. And I know exactly how." Everyone at the table turned to look at him. "Don't tell me," Taehyung began. "Yes. Jimin cut him off, clapping his hands dramatically. There's this reality show, The Bachelor. You know it, right? Millions of viewers, one handsome man, and a mansion full of potential partners competing for his heart. Guess who would be the perfect candidate? Not me. Yes, you. Taehyung laughed in disbelief. You can't be serious. I don't need to find love on television. Why not? Jimin challenged. You've tried business dinners, charity galas, even those boring socialite parties. None of those worked. Maybe this will. And imagine. The whole country will get to see the softer side of Kim Taehyung. The one who isn't just a businessman, but a man looking for love. Their mother tilted her head thoughtfully. It could actually be good for your image, Taehyung. People like vulnerability. Seokjin smirked. And entertainment. Watching you navigate 20 women at once? I'd pay for that. Taehyung groaned. I'd rather drown in paperwork. But Jimin wasn't letting go. His eyes sparkled with determination. Come on, Hyung. You never know. Maybe your soulmate isn't in boardrooms or five-star hotels. Maybe they're somewhere unexpected, waiting for you to notice. Taehyung wanted to argue again. He wanted to roll his eyes and dismiss it as nonsense. But deep down in the quiet corner of his heart, a thought flickered. What if Jimin was right? What if love really was waiting in a place he least expected? For now, though, he stayed silent, sipping his coffee. While his family exchanged knowing glances, the stage was being set. And soon, in front of cameras and strangers, Kim Taehyung's search for love would begin. Little did he know, the person who would truly catch his heart wasn't a contestant at all, but the man behind the cameras. Taehyung hadn't agreed immediately. For 3 days he fought against the idea of embarrassing himself on national television. He buried himself in work, buried himself in meetings, buried himself in the numbers of profit margins and international expansions. But every night when he returned home to his quiet penthouse, Jimin's words echoed in his head. Maybe your soulmate isn't in boardrooms or five-star hotels. Maybe they're somewhere unexpected, waiting for you to notice. It wasn't the idea of love that terrified him, it was the idea of vulnerability. Kim Taehyung, the businessman, was untouchable. Kim Taehyung, the man, was fragile. And he didn't like people seeing that side of him. Still, Jimin was persistent. He sent Taehyung clips from previous seasons, texted him articles about the show's popularity, and even dragged Yoongi into convincing him. Do it, Yoongi had said in his usual blunt manner one evening over dinner. If only so Jimin shuts up about it. That had made Taehyung laugh for the first time in days. And so, finally, reluctantly, he agreed. The production team moved fast. Contracts were signed, press releases drafted, and soon the headlines blared across the nation. Billionaire Kim Taehyung becomes the next Bachelor. South Korea's most eligible man is finally searching for love, on camera. The world buzzed with excitement. Fans of the show speculated about the women who would compete. About Taehyung's taste in partners, about whether the man who had everything could finally find what he was missing. Taehyung, meanwhile, felt like he had stepped into a dream that wasn't his. On the first day of filming, Taehyung arrived at the grand estate chosen as the set. It was a sprawling mansion draped in fairy lights, with a circular driveway lined with black cars and gardens trimmed to perfection. A red carpet stretched out like a symbol of the spectacle to come. Dozens of crew members bustled about, cameras being adjusted, lighting tested, microphones clipped. Everywhere Taehyung looked, people moved with purpose, setting the stage for romance, or at least the illusion of it. He straightened his suit jacket, exhaling slowly. This wasn't his world. He was used to boardrooms, not backdrops. But he had agreed, and once Taehyung committed, he didn't back down. That was when he saw him. Jungkook. He stood at the far end of the driveway, headset slung around his neck, clipboard in hand. Broad-shouldered, tall, effortlessly commanding the attention of the staff around him. His hair was dark, slightly tousled, his jawline sharp enough to cut glass. He was dressed simply in black jeans and a fitted shirt, but on him simplicity looked like luxury. Taehyung found his gaze lingering. "Hyung, that's Jungkook," Jimin had whispered the night before when showing him the staff profiles. "He's the producer and director of the show. Basically the guy who runs everything behind the cameras. He's crazy talented. And women are obsessed with him." At the time, Taehyung had dismissed it. But now, seeing him in person, he understood why. Jungkook wasn't just handsome. He carried himself like someone who knew his worth but didn't need to flaunt it. There was a quiet intensity in the way he spoke, the way he gestured, the way people naturally listened to him. Taehyung didn't realize he was staring until Jungkook looked up, and their eyes met. For a second, the chaos of the set blurred away. Jungkook's gaze was steady, unreadable, but something in it made Taehyung's chest tighten. He quickly looked away, annoyed at himself. "This is ridiculous. He's just a producer." Focused Taehyung. Later that afternoon, Jungkook approached him formally. "Mr. Kim Taehyung?" His voice was smooth, low, professional. "Yes," Taehyung replied, his usual confidence slipping into place like armor. "I'm Jungkook, executive producer of the show. I'll be overseeing everything. I wanted to welcome you personally." They shook hands. Jungkook's grip was firm, his palm warm. Taehyung felt the jolt of it, though he masked it with a polite smile. "I appreciate that," he said evenly. Jungkook's eyes lingered on him just a moment longer than necessary. "This won't be easy for you, Mr. Kim. Cameras catch everything. You'll need to let down walls. Are you ready for that?" It was a direct question, one most people would never dare ask him. Taehyung raised a brow. "I don't build walls, Mr. John. I build empires." For the first time, Jungkook's lips curved into the faintest smile. "We'll see." By evening, the women arrived one by one in sleek cars, stepping out in gowns, introducing themselves under the glittering lights. They were beautiful, every single one of them. Elegant, poised, rehearsed. The cameras loved them and they loved the cameras. Taehyung smiled, shook hands, exchanged pleasantries. He was polite, charming even. But his heart wasn't in it. Because every time his eyes drifted away from the flashing lights, they found Jungkook at the edge of the set, watching, instructing, orchestrating the spectacle. And Taehyung hated himself for noticing the way Jungkook's shirt stretched across his shoulders when he moved, or the way his brow furrowed when he focused. He was supposed to be looking for love among the contestants. But the only person he couldn't stop thinking about was the man behind the camera. The night ended with Taehyung retreating to his private quarters in the mansion. He sat by the window, tie loosened, staring out at the garden lit by fairy lights. The show had only just begun, but already his mind was restless. He didn't want a woman competing for his attention. He wanted the one man who wasn't playing a part. Jungkook. And that realization both thrilled and terrified him. The next morning, the mansion woke to a flurry of activity. Makeup artists bustled through the halls, camera crews tested their equipment, and contestants rehearsed their smiles in front of gilded mirrors. It was the official first day of filming. Taehyung, however, wasn't as eager as everyone else. He sat in the grand living room, dressed impeccably in a dark suit, while the host explained how the day's events would unfold. Cameras circled him everywhere, capturing every tilt of his head, every calculated smile. It was supposed to be his moment. Yet all he could think about was the man behind the monitor, Jungkook. The first evening was designed as a classic Bachelor scene. Champagne glasses clinking, soft music playing. Women approaching him one by one to introduce themselves. They were all stunning. The first, a model, complimented his business empire and tried to impress him with her knowledge of stocks. The second, an actress, touched his arm and called him the most handsome bachelor yet. The third giggled endlessly, her perfume strong enough to choke. Taehyung nodded, smiled, even laughed politely. But none of it stirred him. Instead, between conversations, his eyes wandered across the room. There was Jungkook, headset around his neck, standing by the corner with his staff. He wasn't even trying to draw attention, but Taehyung's gaze gravitated toward him like a magnet. The way Jungkook's lips pressed together when he focused on the cameras. The way he ran a hand through his hair when giving instructions. Taehyung's attention slipped more than once. "So, Mr. Kim, what's your ideal date?" a contestant asked sweetly. Taehyung blinked, realizing he hadn't heard a word she'd said. He cleared his throat, forcing a smile. I believe a meaningful conversation is more important than the setting." Was a good answer. The girl beamed. But Taehyung's chest tightened when he noticed Jungkook smirking slightly from across the room. Almost as if he had noticed Taehyung's distraction. Hours later, after endless introductions, Taehyung finally managed to step outside for fresh air. The garden was quiet, fairy lights twinkling in the trees. He loosened his tie, sighing. "You look like you're already regretting this," came a voice. Taehyung turned. It was Jungkook, walking toward him with his usual calm stride, clipboard in hand. Even in the dim glow of garden lights, his features looked carved, sharp, mesmerizing. "I'm not regretting it," Taehyung replied a little too quickly. "I just needed a break." Jungkook tilted his head, studying him. "You don't like the spotlight, do you?" Taehyung chuckled softly. "I don't mind it. But this," he gestured toward the mansion, where laughter and chatter still spilled out the windows. "This feels different. Like I'm performing for something I don't want." There was a pause. Jungkook lowered his clipboard, his voice softer. "Then why did you agree to it?" Taehyung hesitated, the truth slipping past his defenses before he could stop it. "Because everyone around me is happy. My brothers, my parents, even my employees. And I'm not. I thought maybe this would fix it." For a moment their eyes locked. Jungkook's expression shifted, something unreadable, but not cold, almost like understanding. Then his professional mask slid back in place. "Well, you're here now. Just remember, the audience can tell when your heart isn't in it." Taehyung smirked faintly. "And what if my heart isn't supposed to be in it?" Jungkook froze, his hand tightening around his clipboard. But before he could reply, a crew member called his name, dragging him back into reality. He gave Taehyung one last lingering glance before disappearing inside. The following days blurred into a rhythm of scripted dates and staged conversations. Contestants tried their hardest, laughing at his jokes, brushing fingers against his arm, whispering flirty compliments. To the cameras it looked like romance. To Taehyung it felt hollow. Worse, he caught himself doing the one thing he shouldn't, watching Jungkook. When one contestant leaned too close, he glanced toward Jungkook and saw him frowning at the monitor. When another tried to feed him chocolate, Jungkook turned away abruptly. Taehyung didn't know if it was annoyance, jealousy, or nothing at all, but he couldn't stop noticing it. And each time their eyes met, even briefly, it felt like a secret they weren't supposed to share. That weekend, Taehyung called Jimin late at night. His younger brother answered, his voice groggy. "Hyung, you okay?" Taehyung hesitated. "Jimin, I don't think I care about any of these girls." Jimin yawned. "That's not surprising. You're impossible to impress." "No, it's not that." Taehyung's voice dropped, almost a whisper. "There's someone else." That woke Jimin up instantly. "Wait, what? Already? Who?" Taehyung closed his eyes, rubbing his forehead. "It's not a contestant. It is the producer. Jungkook." Silence. Then an explosion of laughter. "Hyung, you're falling for the guy running the show? Oh, this is golden. The viewers would die if they knew." "Jimin, I'm serious," Taehyung hissed. "I can't focus on anyone else. And he looks at me sometimes like he sees through everything. But this is insane. He's off limits." Jimin, still giggling, said softly, "Maybe that's what makes it exciting. Maybe this is the love you've been missing, the kind that feels impossible but isn't." That night, as Taehyung lay in his luxurious bed at the mansion, cameras off, lights dimmed, he replayed every glance, every word exchanged with Jungkook. The show was designed for him to find love among the contestants. But his heart was already betraying the script. It wanted the man behind the camera. To be continued. Thanks for watching.